Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for November the 21st. Your readings today find you in Ezekiel chapter 44 and Ezekiel chapter 45, verses 1 through 12. You're also going to read 1 Peter, starting in chapter 1, verses 1 through 12. You're going to have Psalm 119, verses 17 through 32, and Proverbs chapter 28, verses 8 through 10. So we're starting a new letter, so we're going to have a little bit of an introduction to Peter, and we're going to talk about some of the verses that you see in this particular one. Now, obviously, the very beginning of it tells us who wrote the letter, which is why we call it 1 Peter, because there is a 2 Peter, another letter written by Peter. And there have been some people that have been like, did Peter really write it? Yes, Peter really did write it. When you start really looking at the evidence, Peter wrote it, and he wrote it sometime between 62 and 64 AD. And that's because Peter was killed in 65 AD. He wrote it from Rome, and he wrote it to a very specific group of people. We use a fancy term called the diaspora, which, you can file that away as a Jeopardy thing. But it's just the Jewish Christians that have been scattered all throughout the empire following all the different persecutions that have happened. Okay. Specifically, he mentions places that we would call Asia Minor. Now, Asia Minor is that area of Asia that's kind of the beginning of Asia, where Asia and Europe meet. It's just to the east of Italy and Greece and all those places. Turkey, some of those areas along those lines is where we would be. Now, this is a really strong book of theology. And it's also a strong book of encouragement to the suffering believers. And actually, it is a good theology book because of the suffering. See, what Peter didn't want to do was write this just cheerleading thing. Yay, you can do it. Go you. That's not what Peter wanted to do. Peter wanted to give them a firm foundation as to why they should endure suffering and how they could endure suffering. And you're gonna hear a lot about holiness. You're gonna hear a lot about information, some confusing theological things that we're gonna dive into about Christ's descent. But the focus is gonna be a lot of it on the future. And in this short letter, Peter constantly steers us back towards God. It's actually used 39 times in just this short little letter. And it's a very important letter, though, for the church. And the purpose of it is all the way down at the 5. It's written so that I can briefly encourage you, testifying that this is the true grace of God. Stand fast in it. So that's kind of the purpose of it. And so his introduction in the first 12 verses speaks to this, and it reminds them of the decision that they made to come to know Jesus, who have been chosen, verse 2, according to the foreknowledge of God the Father through the sanctifying work of the Spirit, to be obedient to Jesus Christ and sprinkled with his blood. Already we're getting deep into it because suddenly you have a conversation. Wait, God foreknew who was going to be saved? And this has a whole debate about the elect and all those different things. Here's the deal. People are going to tell you, well, God is sovereign and everything is, and we have free will, and then we have all these choices, and yet we've got words like foreknowledge and to the elect that Paul uses. So how does this work, Jeremy? Well, the truth is I don't fully know, okay? But I do know this. Number one, God is fully sovereign, meaning that God makes every choice he chooses to make, and that's it. There is no getting around the full sovereignty of God. However, God has also given us free will, and we are responsible for our choices and our actions. Now, how exactly those two mesh together? Good question. There's kind of a gray area there. Nobody's really sure where those two meet. If you talk to some people that are straight Calvinist, they'll tell you that, well, there's nothing that you can do. It's all been ordained for you. Those people that fall on the Arminian side of it will be like, no. God just kind of gives you the framework, and you got to fill it all in. Look, God is fully sovereign. He is fully in control of every single situation and every moment of our lives, and yet we are fully responsible for the actions and decisions that we make. Okay, so anyway, as you read this, look at the encouragement that Peter gives, but look how the encouragement is undergirded by solid theology. This is a great word for us. See, we don't need to be offering people when they have suffering. We don't need to offer them these token things of, well, all things will work together for the good of those. Okay, well, first of all, we misuse that one. But second of all, don't do that. In all this, in verse 6, you should greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief and all kinds of trials. Peter's not trying to softcoat this. Peter's going to say, hey, this is going to stink. This is going to hurt. You are going to do this. However, verse 7, these have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Peter is offering incredible encouragement, but he's not doing it in the whole yay part of it. So as we dive into this book, we're going to wrestle with some of these things. We're going to look at some of the weird theologies, and well, here we go. Hold on to your pantyhose. We'll talk more next time.